me just make sure it's filming. Yep. Okay, perfect. All right, so how are you doing? Talk to me more about the homesick stuff.
Is it on film?
Yeah, it's fine.
Oh, okay. I felt like when I went to like go look at apartments, I don't know, it like really hit me. Like I started to like miss my family, like my boyfriend, and I don't know. It was like just like I think things were moving so fast before then that I didn't have time to like pause
And like
be like, oh my gosh, I'm really gonna be like really. I don't know. It felt like more like temporary, being maybe just like living in the dorms and stuff made it feel more like it's just like I don't know.
yeah, so like hitting you.
Yeah, and I've always like lived in like really like I know Oklahoma City's like a big city, but it just didn't feel like what I was used to, and not like what I thought it would, but
like Chicago or Seattle.
yeah, Seattle. It didn't feel like I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm excited about it.
Are you excited though?
Yeah, but nervous. I think I'll feel better when I have a place and like have more of a plan.
Like
I'm
more
gonna go
settled
with my
in.
roommate this weekend.
Okay. Oh, that's good.
Yeah, it
Where
was
are you
more
living
just like her name's Shantae. She's teaching at KIPP in the fall. She's teaching middle school.
Good.
Yeah, so I think it'll be like a really good fit. It was just more of like a preliminary. She was out of town, but I was like, oh, maybe I'll just drive and like see. I don't know.
Like this weekend, see maybe. Just
Last weekend I went.
Ah,
I did
okay,
a preliminary, and that's like when it hit me. I was like, oh my gosh.
Okay.
Just because I felt like when I've like looked for apartments in the past, I've always like fallen in love with a place. Like, this is the place I want to live in, but I didn't have that connection.
It will come. It will come.
Yeah.
It will happen.
So.
I was like, do you have your placement yet? No.
Yeah.
So like that actually could be a good thing, like not knowing your placement, like and not having a place, right? Because then like if you get your placement and like you don't have a place, then you can get an apartment like really close.
That's true.
Which is like changes your world. Like I was 12 minutes from school and it was
That's so nice.
yeah, it was great.
It cuts down on your day.
Yeah, and like your happiness level because you get to get home and have more hours in the day or time in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
For sure. Okay.
So anyways, moving on.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I don't know. I just like to like
Yes, I do.
talk about life for a hot second. So let's talk about your lesson today or actually yesterday, right? It was your lesson yesterday, yeah. So like let's start with like student outcomes. Like talk to me about like the outcomes of that lesson and how it went.
It felt like what I wanted the students to like, how I wanted them to respond was like not clear, and like reflecting back on it, I think my prompt was like really abstract given the age and like given where they're at currently.
So what did that mean for like student mastery?
I mean, I don't think most of them understood what I was asking of them.
With your like data, what did it say?
It was pretty low. Like when I looked at my data, I had like a few students who like understood, but like it felt like the students that I guess demonstrated mastery also didn't really take it like to a higher level. They kind of just drew what was on the next page of the book and didn't like extend it as far as I was looking or as I was wanting them to. But I felt like thinking back, just like even reading what I had read in my lesson, I was like, that wasn't really clear. Like, and I felt like it was really abstract to ask kids to like assume like the role of a farmer.
Yeah, so you're like jumping down into
Sorry.
it. No, that's good. Like let's jump down into it and like let's talk about like engagement with rigorous content in that lesson and like where you feel like they were at and like what they were doing.
Well, I think it was like very like dependent on the kid. I mean, like I felt like some kids were taking it like to the next level of like thinking about like conceptualizing like what would the farmer do, not what would they do. Whereas like other kids were like more like totally confused, like I'm gonna draw a horse because I want to draw a horse. I had a whole like group of kids who drew horses. Oh, you did? Yeah.
Okay.
So I feel like there was definitely like kids covering the spectrum, but I felt like they were more concentrated in the confused phase, and I think that was largely a reflection of my like not being clear in what I wanted them to do.
Yeah, and so like I feel like from the start of this, like you're like it was my like not being clear. So like let's talk about like teacher actions and like what led to kids feeling that way or being.
Okay. Well, I did feel a little bit confused when I was writing the lesson about like the objective itself, but I know that's something I should have like clarified before I taught it, because I was like, how can I get students like on a high level of like blooms when like I felt like I don't know how do you make a prediction when you've already read the book? I guess was kind of like what I kept getting back to. Like I felt really comfortable like reading the book and being like, let's guess what's going to happen next, like in the whole group. But then I was like, okay, so we will have read through the book, but how will students make a prediction after they've read the book? I don't know. I felt kind of confused about how to teach the content.
Yeah. Right, which, like, if you're confused, like, your kids are definitely going to be confused, right? Like,
yeah.
And you, like, saw that. So, like, what do you think, like, you could have done?
I definitely think that it would have been better to, like, clarify with someone who already taught it. Because I felt like I did that in my today's lesson, and I went in, like, feeling like I really understood the content because I had, like, collaborated yesterday with, like, Bree and talked to her about, like, how she was doing her lesson and how she was explaining emotions and, like...
Love the collaboration.
So I felt like I went in today being like, okay, I understand what I'm teaching. Whereas, like, yesterday I was like, wait, how do I teach a prediction in an independent practice? I felt like I understood how to teach it in the guided because we were like going through the book, and that felt really natural to me. But then I didn't really understand in the independent, and I also think I was like conceptualizing the independent practice differently than I should have been. Like I was thinking of it as like purely a continuation of the guided practice, but I guess it's a little bit different in literacy because it's kind of separated. Like some kids may be coming to the independent practice after going to do a small group and recess, and then coming back.
Right, because you guys have changed your schedule.
I was forgetting that, like in my writing of the lesson, it appeared that it was like just like right after they did the guided, so I just kind of like jumped right in instead of like reiterating like how to make predictions and doing a practice with a small group.
So what does that mean like for your teacher actions and like what you want to like in the future, or like do for lessons or execution or planning? Or
I think it was mainly a planning issue because I think I was executing what I
your plan
and I had practiced my plan, and I didn't see the breakdown, but I think I should have taken like my own confusion about predictions as a sign that there was some sort of breakdown.
Yeah, for sure, right? And like you realized like you were confused doing it, so like, and like you said like you felt better about your lesson today, right? Because like you had worked that out, and so like let's go look at the rubric and like see, and I feel like it's sorry, no, that's fine. Like P3, like objective driven lesson plans that are aligned, and like if your kids complete this lesson plan and you plan it out, then they will be able to magically accept it. And so like making sure like when you're going through the lesson, it's like, yes, if my kids do this, this, and this, they will be able to do it independently. Yeah, do you feel like?
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Right, because like talking more about like the confusion you were feeling in that lesson, or like when you were planning.
When I was planning, I was feeling like I didn't know how to like teach students how to make a prediction like in the context of like an extension activity. Like I knew how to teach it like looking through a book.
You mean like when you went to small group?
But when I got to small group, like I wasn't exactly sure. Was it supposed to be like referring to like something that was actually in the text? Or was it supposed to be like students, or should it be like students predicting something beyond the text? Because I feel like if I'm asking them to predict something that they've already read, that's not very high on the rigor scale. It's just asking them to like spit out something that they already knew. So that's why I kind of got into that whole thing about like, oh, maybe if they're the farmer, that kind of like ups my rigor by like
making them think about it in a different way.
Exactly.
But then they were
like confused.
Yeah. So I think like you already said this, but like in the future, like making sure you're always doing this, but like collaborating, right? Like you saw, like tell me about your lesson today.
Okay, so I did emotions, and we walked through the text of the whole group, and we talked about emotions that the characters were feeling, but then also in the independent practice, we reviewed emotions again, but in a totally different way, in the context of a game. Like, what are these emotions? And then did it in a guided way of children talking about emotions that they saw in characters, and then it was independent.
Okay.
So it was different in that, like, I didn't get there and expect students to be fully independent. I, like, built them up to being independent, so they were really successful in the activity, and they were really happy about it because they knew what to do. They weren't, like...
They weren't this confused.
They were confused, and I wasn't confused because I was, like, I knew going in that they would be successful because there was that scaffolding built into the independent practice. I think I was conceptualizing before, like, independent practice is just, like, them on their own.
But you need
for
to,
literature, but we needed to have that, like, support built into the independent practice at the beginning of, like, let's remember, what does it look like when someone's confused? Instead of just assuming that they got it during the whole group.
Yep. I love it. I love that reflection because it's like, I don't know, I just like love how I am seeing you guys like really become teachers. Like you are like totally in the mind frame, and like that is like a huge step to take to be like, oh, like no, I need to give my kids these tools to set them up for success so that they can do it independently, which is like really awesome to hear from you. And I think like two big things for you are going to be like working on that collaboration, like especially like in like the next week. Like I already heard you like talking to Kristen today about it, right? Like oh, let's talk about math. Like let's do this.
I know.
Like, yeah.
I received like anyone in the hall. What did you do for counting? How did it work? How do you like set the expectations? Just like anything. Like even if I'm not going to use their exact lesson, I find out what
can I learn from you?
Directions or one great thing about how to incorporate movement.
Yeah. So like continuing to collaborate and like working on that, and then like in your planning, like if there is a point when you're confused, like reaching out and like talk, like call me or like someone on your hall, like just like making sure that you're doing that.
Yeah, and I feel like usually when I talk to people about these things, if I do, which I did not for the Monday one, I would like see the breakdown before I implement. I'm like, wait, that's gonna be confusing, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think you saw it before, you just like didn't know what to do about it.
Yeah.
So like
reaching
out.
Even I was getting kind of confused. I was like, wait, how do I even explain this? And like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It was really confusing to me.
Yeah. So learn from that and like
and change.
Fixing it. Beautiful. What about like your culture of achievement in that lesson?
I think because they were confused, it impacted the culture of achievement. I would say kids were like on task. They were like doing what they were being asked to do, but from what they understood. So if they understood that they were supposed to be the farmer and drew what they thought the farmer would do, they were on task.
Yeah.
But I feel like the kids that were confused were not like off task on purpose.
Right. Yeah. And I feel the same way. Like they were like trying to do.
Like, let me draw a picture.
Yeah. Like I know.
If they were drawing an animal from the story, there was some sort of connection, but not the connection that.
Yeah. And I feel like both the things that we've talked about, like when you fix this, like it will fix that. Because like I really feel like your kids, like they're there and they're like ready to learn, and you guys are like your collaborative has like worked together so well, and like with Erin and like you guys are getting there. Like you are like learning your kids and like what works and what doesn't work, and you're like troubleshooting all the time and like making it better. So
That's very true.
yeah. So if you're like in your planning, like able to like go through, make it aligned, make it make sense to you, and like Amy like talked about this like a couple weeks ago, like your investment in the lesson, like if you're not confused, like now you're also like more invested in it, right?
I felt like I was really excited about the lesson, but then like not as like joyful as I could be because there was like this hint of confusion to me.
Yeah, which
like I'm so excited about this, but I'm not really sure how to explain it to you, kind of. So I couldn't be as joyful as I could be. I mean, I feel like I was more joyful today because I went in and I was like, I'm going to teach you this really fun game, and I know how to teach you this really fun game.
Yeah!
It's not going to confuse you, so.
Yeah. So, like, in your planning, like, making sure that, like, all that's there and, like, you're not confused and that you're, like, walking in, like, feeling that confidence when you're walking into the lesson. And then, like, just, like, continuing to collaborate and, like, pushing yourself through, like, learning through others, which, like, I've already seen you do, which has been awesome. And I feel really good about that. Yeah? And, like, if you're able to, like, really hone in and, like, work on these things, like, what is that going to mean for your kids? Like, in the next week and 2 days?
level, I feel like they'll experience more dramatic academic growth. I mean, I felt like we were able to engage with like much more rigorous content today because there wasn't so much time. I mean, the lessons are so short; they're only like 10 minutes.
Right.
So if you're having to like go back and like re-explain your objective
like,
to the kids,
we don't have time for
like
that.
50 times,
yeah.
they're not able to like go up to the higher level of rigor. Whereas like today, the objective was very clear and the content was very clear, so kids were able to get to a higher level thinking of like, what does it look like to be confused? Can you show me what it looks like to be confused? When did this person feel confused? Rather than just kind of like skimming the surface, or as in the case of Monday, like not even skimming it because they didn't understand what they were supposed to be
Yeah.
doing.
And I think like you've already seen it like in the success of today.
Yeah.
And like the way that it's affecting it.
Amazing to me how like quickly things can turn around in the classroom.
I love.
It's
Yeah,
empowering though that you can like gain information from a previous lesson and implement it like boom next day. There's not a gap.
Yeah.
Or there doesn't have to be a gap.
No. Yeah. Like you can like take everything that you've learned from the day and like implement it, and bam, got it.
It's exciting.
Love it. Yay. And like I think especially for you, like I don't know, like I just want you to feel so good about the growth that you've made in the last like 2 weeks and 2 days. Like
Crazy.
like thinking about like where you were like day one in the classroom and like where you are today. Like
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
in an amazing way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In a good way.
Yeah.
But
Like you're gonna be a rock star teacher for your kids, and I'm like
really
stoked
excited.
for them.
I think I'm a little bit like, I have some fears right now, just about like where I can go to like for support, not now, but like in the future, because I just feel like there are like lots of things that I don't like know how to teach, if that makes sense. Like I don't feel like at my like Monday, I was like, I don't know how to teach a prediction. Like, is there like a certain way to be teaching these things?
Well, I think that like it really like it. First of all, it does depend on like your kids and like your individual students, and also like the community that you're in, and like where your kids are coming from, and like the culture in your classroom. Depends on like what kinds of activities you can do and what kinds of things. I don't think that there's like one right way to teach anything.
There's not. Yeah, that's true. There's
Yeah, like we can't like hand you a formula and be like, here, this is
See, I think that was when I like I did student teaching like 2 years ago, and like when we did literacy, they gave us like the school like had a literacy guide, and so it would be
And
like
sometimes you
a
will.
prediction is like 1, you do a picture walk, 2, you do this, and so like I felt like I always went in being like I
Step
know
by
how
step.
to teach this.
And I think like there are like some like best practices, but not like one specific way that is the best way. And like sometimes you do walk into a school and like that was how mine was my first year. Like I had a scripted curriculum and like that was the way I taught it. But I think like also like if you don't have that in your school, just like reaching out to colleagues and like really seeing them for like the wealth of knowledge that they're going to be. Like I taught with 2 kindergarten teachers who had taught for over 30 years, and like the things I learned from them, like because they've been doing it for so long, you know. So like just like reaching out to those kinds of people, and also like TFAing that, like you can always find like resources, and then like we like even though we're not like gonna be like there with you, like you can like email us, call us, like we're here to talk.
Great, that's good to know.
And I feel like everyone at ECDC is like.
Yeah, I feel like it's a really close community where, like, in October, I emailed someone who was like, have you taught predictions yet this year?
Yeah, and then like, oh, this is how I did it. It worked. Or like, don't do it this way.
Yeah, I feel like we have like a good community where everyone is wanting to help each other. So
for sure,
that's good to know.
All right, excellent. I really like it. All right, so like collaboration, working with pairs, like or working with like peers. Like, when will that happen for you? Like, as like a definitive next step.
Well, I want to have it like happen more as like a pre-step and not like find out there's a breakdown before I teach the lesson. So I want to have it just be like ideally like today, like when I'm like writing rough drafts for things, to at least get those ideas.
How can you make sure that happens?
I don't know, I feel like it is too like casual now and like not formal enough. So maybe like seeking someone out who I know has had like a really successful
Yeah, like exactly. Like that's what we want you guys to be using their time for. So like seeking out someone. Like what area would you want to find someone? Just like in a content that you've taught or that you're teaching.
I'm feeling really like shaky about math next week.
Okay.
And I think it's because of my like. I mean, I'll be perfectly honest. Like the first week, I felt like it was like really rough, like teaching math, and I don't even know if I could call it teaching because I feel like
It's just not that way here.
I feel like it was week 1 and you were on like this massive learning curve, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so now I feel like I'm going in with so many more tools. I'm like, I know how to like hand out materials. I'll have directions. I wouldn't just hand out materials. So I feel like
Yeah.
I have so many more tools, so it doesn't feel daunting.
Yeah.
I guess I find this so strange because I was an ag major and I felt like the easiest part of lessons for me was always like finding the activities. But I feel like with the reverse and I see all the strengths and merits to make sure that you're like aligning assessment and objectives. But now I'm like having such a hard time of like thinking like, okay, no, how do I make this fun? And
like with looking at the assessment and starting that way.
So I feel like I'm having a hard time like thinking of the activities themselves for math.
I think that someone who's done that really, really well is Lauren James.
Okay.
Yeah, so like I think I'm just gonna like send you to her, and I know that she would be like more than willing.
Like a math activity.
Yes, yeah,
okay.
she was, yeah.
Yeah, because I feel like really comfortable. Like last week, I felt like, oh my gosh, I know how to make letter sounds engaging. By the end of the week, like I felt like I could give someone like ideas about how they could like make it fun for their kids.
Which is like good for me to know so that I can make sense.
Well, I don't know if mine were like exemplar. I definitely know my plans weren't, but I felt like my activities were. But that was, I don't know. I felt like my kids responded really well to them.
Yeah, which is like good to know because like, yeah.
But so I guess that's kind of like where I'm feeling a little bit unsure now, is not as much about like the content, but like, well, I guess that is kind of content. I'm like, how do I teach this
and make it like
and make it fun and engaging?
And I think like I think you definitely have the tools to be able to do that. Like I feel like what I'm hearing from you is like because of week 1 and like it's like making you take like a step back and be like, whoa, I don't know if I can, like I've been so successful in literacy, like can I do this in math?
Yeah,
but, like,
and also just
like with everything you've learned and like redoing it that way.
Yeah.
Which
if I was just supposed to go in with like a math activity.
You were like,
But with all the information I've learned.
Like just like wanting to make sure that it like goes well. But like you're gonna do it, you're gonna rock it out. You are.
I guess I'm just wondering like how it'll look for like a whole group. I know it won't be that big of a group, but just making sure that all the pieces are there. Would you say
like 1 more minute, yeah.
What would you say would be like the best strategy? Would you say like TFA net would be good to like find like math activities?
I think even more so like because like they're teaching the same objectives, like going to Lauren because she had like super engaging activities, and then also like Elise because she's doing it this week with whole group because she's doing forestry right next door.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Okay. That's good to know that those people are.
Yeah, and Walter taught whole group math the first week, and he like did pretty well with it. So like any of them, like if you find time to like chat with them or set up some time to talk with them. Yeah.
Sounds good.
All right.
I have some ideas.
Perfect.
For next week.
Okay.
Just to clarify, are we supposed to email the lesson tomorrow morning or
No, Thursday morning. Right, because we had you turn them in last Thursday night.
So we were like
so that you can have you got a day ahead, so that you don't have to turn them in tomorrow morning.
Okay. Yeah. Sounds good.
Perfect.
Happy 4th.
Yes, I hope you have a great